Video game developers are working on new stuff all of the time, and generally these projects are held secretive until a big press event like E3 or even PAX East. And these big press conferences are generally the places where big studios want to reveal their brand new titles for the first time. And although I noted that most developers go to these big press conferences to announce their games, Gearbox is doing something slightly different by somewhat announcing a new Borderlands game / new title or spin-off. And as we all know, Randy Pitchford would have something to do with this. I mean, he is quite the showman. But let me tell you, the prospects of potentially having a new Borderlands game very soon is very exciting. As personally, I always feel satisfied with my experience when playing a Borderlands game, and so it would be great to get my hands on a brand new one, although I feel like we will have to wait a little while. As although Randy Pitchford is giving us good news, he's also giving us some bad news as well, so we're going to take a dive into that. But before we get any further, I would just like to say consider subscribing, as I give you your fix of video game discussion, so consider liking, subscribing and turning on notification buttons to help me on my journey through the YouTube algorithm. So thank you very much, and let's move on. Over the past week, there have been some rumours about the Borderlands series / a potential sequel or even a spin-off. And unfortunately, the bad news is that Randy denied most of the rumours surrounding a possible sequel to Borderlands. Notice I said most of the news. Just most of it. Because a few days ago there was speculation that Gearbox was not going to be the lead developer on the next Borderlands game, and many assumed that Gearbox would just be an assisting or a supporting studio. Now when I first heard this rumour, I had no doubt in my mind that this was fake. I doubt that Gearbox would let anyone touch their little beauty called Borderlands, as generally companies I wouldn't assume would want to hand off their game franchises to new studios. But Randy did say this on his Twitter page in response to all of the speculation about the next entry in the Borderlands franchise. I am told that Gearbox is assisting or co-developing another Borderlands game or a new spin-off game. These rumours are not accurate. Gearbox is lead dev on any future games in the Borderlands franchise or any Borderlands adjacent games, with no co-development. Man, that was a lot to get through. And so we can put our worst fears aside. Gearbox will be leading the next Borderlands game, and I am so happy for that. And it's a good thing, as although the story wasn't great, gameplay wise, Borderlands 3 was as smooth as anything. And if I'm honest, I really can't wait for the next entry in the series. I just really hope that they go for a more classical approach to the humour, because just like me, Borderlands 3 is not funny. But to be fair, Borderlands 3 is actually quite a good game if you give it a chance. Personally, I didn't really connect with the story, which is quite a shame, as I did really enjoy all the advancements in the movement system as well as the new loot system as well. So Borderlands 3 did do some good in all the bad that it gets. Borderlands 4 speculation and alleged leaks have been going around for the past few weeks now, and so it's good that we're actually getting some confirmation from Gearbox themselves. Well, Randy Pitchford, but to him he is basically Gearbox. Although Randy Pitchford is a co-founder at Gearbox, he did note that Gearbox is working on the big one, which gets me speculating as to why he would say this. As surely if you're quite high up in the chain of command at a video game studio, you wouldn't want to be just blurting out leaks for your own future titles. It's just quite strange to think about. But the full quote was, "We are definitely working on some amazing stuff that I hope will surprise and delight you. Plug, if anyone out there has the skills to pay the bills and wants to get in on some Borderlands action, we're working on the big one." Now this could just be Randy being Randy with his usual and delirious ego, just releasing stuff way before it should ever be seen, or it could be an actual tease planned by the development team. Who knows, everything is up in the air at the moment, so don't take my word for it. Take Randy's instead. Now what that means for the Borderlands franchise, is, I'm unsure. It would be easy to assume that Randy is talking about Borderlands 4 or perhaps a spin-off title or just another sequel, who knows, just something. I'm pretty sure that Gearbox would have at least started development on Borderlands 4 in some capacity, but it is too early to say anything. And although it's easy to point the finger and just say yes, Borderlands 4 is in the works, it's easy to assume that Borderlands 4 is just perhaps a skeleton at this point, and I would assume that they are working on Borderlands 4 in some capacity, as devs are always working on something in the background. But I don't think it would be very polished at all, perhaps just a few paragraphs of code, some concept art, I'm really not too sure here. Now, the only thing that makes me say that Borderlands 4 is probably just a skeleton with a few pieces of code and concept art is because Borderlands 3 just had their DLC release on the 8th of April, that being the Director's Cut DLC, so that's not too long ago. And so maybe a small team at Gearbox is working on Borderlands 4, I'm not too sure, I just don't want to read too far into things that have no meaning whatsoever. And if Randy is saying such things, then at least we have something in the pipeline in regards to the Borderlands franchise and the future of it. Now, it's clear to say that Gearbox is sticking with the Borderlands franchise. They are not handing it off to any other small studios, as it's evident that Randy wants Gearbox to remain the lead dev on any Borderlands project. But who knows, this could mean the whole world of possibilities are awaiting the next entry in the Borderlands series. Perhaps it's a spin-off, perhaps it's just a sequel, who knows, we'll have to wait for official confirmation for that. However, the prospects and potential of a new Borderlands game is very exciting to me, as this is a franchise that I have loved for many years now, as I find the campaigns to be a fun and casual experience to play with friends or by myself. Sadly, now the speculation on Borderlands 4 or a spin-off of Borderlands or just a new Borderlands related title in general will just have to simmer a little bit longer. But I do feel as though this is the closest confirmation for a new Borderlands game we have, so that's amazing either way, as I'm pretty sure that everyone who has played the Borderlands games will love a new entry in the series, but we will have to wait. And yes, although Borderlands 3, the newest entry in the Borderlands franchise, wasn't received in the best possible light, I am glad that Gearbox is sticking to their own IP and franchise. And the fact that Randy Pitchford noticed this as being the big one really does get the hype up surrounding Borderlands 4 or just the next entry in the Borderlands series. Now, luckily we do have solid confirmation thanks to Randy that something is in the works, which is great. But I somewhat feel like this reveal is too soon. Unless they are planning on releasing the game either this year or early next year, I don't see why they would have announced something so big, as Gearbox's main big franchise is Borderlands, and I don't know why they would take away the hype from their own game. However, this could just be Gearbox and Randy Pitchford trying to stir up hype for their own game. Just think of it as marketing without actually having to pay for it. Because the gaming industry is like a group of piranhas. As soon as any bit of news comes out, we just take it and roll with it. And so who knows, Randy could just be teasing and lying to all of us. Although I think that is highly unlikely, as I don't see Randy just saying something random about the next Borderlands game if it had no relevance. And if Randy is open to saying something like this, then I presume that this could be building up to something, but I am literally just pulling at strings here. Let me know what you think in the comments section below about a new possible entry in the Borderlands franchise. What would you like to see from Gearbox and the Borderlands series? Let me know in the comments section below. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, then consider subscribing, liking, and turning notifications on, as it helps me on my journey through the YouTube algorithm. So thank you, and goodbye.